Hi, we're Preston and Susan Floyd, the 2017 North Carolina Tree Farmers of the Year. Our farm is here in Vance County.
My father bought this farm in 1963. It was a plantation back in the 1800s. It was actually a house there where this house is, and it was used, the doctor that lived here did triage during the Civil War for both sides in the house there. So a lot of history here, but my dad bought it in '63. He died in '72, and I bought it in early '90s. Susan and I, we were managing it on the weekends. We lived in Cary. We moved here in '02. Made some modifications to the farm and have been intensely managing the trees since then. It's about a 500-acre farm now. It wasn't originally that big. We've added several tracts to it. We have right now 270 acres of trees, planted pines that were planted in 1986. So this is 2018, they're 32 years old. We have 2 tracts of 7-year-old pines were planted in 11. And we have approximately 10 or 12 acres of clover on this farm in food plots. We have switchgrass and partridge pea planted on this farm. We have all sorts of apple trees, cherry trees, pear trees, grapevines, big bushes, blackberries. We've used Arsenal as a selective herbicide under the trees to open underneath the canopy to take out the hardwoods. So it leaves a lot of space for sunshine to hit the floor under the trees and grow all sorts of things for wildlife. Our objectives for the farm, we set at 60% focus on growing quality timber, and that's loblolly pines here, and 40% focus on enhancing wildlife habitat. So habitat for wildlife is a part of every decision we make and what we do and how we do it. We have, like I said, food plots scattered around, but by thinning the trees, right now these trees are 32 years old, and we have it at about 125 trees to an acre. So we have a lot of sunshine hitting the floor with a very open understory that has a lot of blackberries and other things, herbaceous plant life that support a tremendous amount of wildlife. You can actually, by doing that, you can actually increase your carrying capacity for wildlife three times.
On the farm, you'll see white-tailed deer, turkey, quail, rabbit. Of course, then you've got, we have groundhogs and opossum and raccoons and
coyotes too.
We've got coyotes, which are a threat to the deer, the turkey, the rabbit. They're a predator.
We have an agreement with a hunting club. When you have farm property, you're always looking for ways to help support itself. So we have an agreement with a hunting club that I was actually a part of starting back in 1985, and that same hunting club still exists today. So there are 30 members of the hunting club that pay a fee per acre each year to hunt on this property. So that pays our taxes, pays for the food plots, and pays for a few other things each year. So we're trying to improve the habitat for deer, turkey, quail, rabbits, and in doing that, you're actually improving the habitat for basically everything here. Now we also, when we have dead trees, or we sometimes kill trees on purpose that are an unwanted species, And we usually leave them standing so that the dead trees, called a snag, becomes habitat for woodpeckers. Woodpeckers build their nest, or drill out their nest, and the woodpeckers eat beetles. So beetles are an enemy, woodpeckers are our friend. So habitat is, you could bring in truckloads of animals here and put them out, but if they don't have habitat, they would not survive. So habitat's the key.
We have got 3 ponds on this property, 2 of which we have built and one that was an original that has been cleaned out. One of the things we do for our pond management is we put grass carp in them. The grass carp eats just what it says. They eat the grass, and that helps to keep your pond clean.
We planted some fields this year. We have trees that are planted this year. We have trees planted 2 years ago. We have trees in almost every age group from this year to 50 years old in different blocks. If you buy a farm that's just been cut over and you plant it, it's some work to do there, and it's about 14 years before you can thin it, probably, 14 years probably. And then another 6, 7, 8 years before you thin it again. So there are your 2 opportunities for income. By having trees at different age groups, now that's a block of trees, so you have 50 acres here in this age group and 50 acres over there in another age group. You don't want to have a lot of different age groups in the same block because the younger trees will be destroyed when you harvest the older trees. When you first plant trees, it is considered a buffet for wildlife because there's so many different types of plant life out there with the trees. So for the first 3 or 4 years, a planted cutover is considered a buffet for wildlife. So it also attracts, when you have a lot of wildlife, you're going to attract predators. So you're going to have a lot of predators there too. A pre-commercial thin is exactly what it says. The trees are not viable yet. So you go in and thin and you take out what you need and leave the rest, and you leave them laying on the ground, the forest floor. So there's you get a crew of about 12 men with, and I said men. I'm sure some crews have a woman on it. I just haven't seen one. And they use brush cutters, and they go in and just cut the trees down and walk on them and push them down. So you take the tree stem count from around 1,000 trees to an acre down to about 450 to 500, which leaves them space to grow. So that's what a pre-commercial thin is. It can cost you $100, $150, maybe even $200 an acre to do that.
And it can also take what you would consider to be an unproductive tract of trees and make it productive. We had a tract of about 42 acres that the trees were like what Preston was talking about, thick as the hair on a dog's back. And the trees were unproductive. I mean, they were so thick, they weren't going to grow, they weren't going to do anything. And after a lot of consideration with the Forest Service, we talked to them, got some other opinions. We went in and pre-commercially thinned it, and the difference is incredible. But it took a piece of 42 acres that was not productive. The trees weren't doing anything, to the trees that have a chance.
I never get a logger that I haven't met the cutter or the skidder operator or the loader, because there's such a difference in the job that they can do. If you get the right crew and they're professional, you can get such a beautiful job that's easy to replant and it's clean and clear. Or if you get one that's just sort of trying to get the job done and get out of there, and I've seen these, where you have so much trash left that it's just terrible. You've got to do all sorts of work and burn it off to do a site prep burn to get so that you can plant trees. It's just such a difference in the quality of the job that you can get from somebody you know is good as opposed to just whoever gets it.
We burn our farms on a 3-year rotation. So essentially divide the farm in thirds and each year burn a third of it. We do a winter burn or a cool season burn, which clears up the understory, the debris, the pine straw, limbs and things that have fallen underneath.
The needles and leaves and limbs and other things fall on the forest floor, and they build up over time. So when you walk in through a forest that has never been burned, it's almost like walking across the cushions on your couch. It's so soft and 5 inches thick of just litter layer. So by burning and taking that litter layer down, you decrease the amount of fuel on the floor of the forest. And if you don't do that, and you actually have a forest fire, then that 5 inches of what we call duff litter layer there, if it's dry, it'll burn so hot it'll kill trees and it'll kill everything, and it'll go through like the forest fires you see like they have in California.
If you're a new farmer, new to farming, growing trees, I guess the first place I would go would be your North Carolina Forest Ranger. Each county should have a ranger and an assistant ranger. Preston and I have worked with our rangers here in Vance County, and they've given us all kinds of advice, and it's free advice. They work for the state. You know, they're just going to give you recommendations on where your trees are and what you can do to enhance them based on what you've set your objectives to be.
You know, years ago, farmers would just take the trash and take it back in the woods. So we have cleaned up truckloads, trailer loads of metal and old trailer parts and just all sorts of what I would consider metal trash, and cleaned them up and taken them to the dump. So that's something I'm very proud of. These farms are much cleaner than they were.
I guess I'd have to say what I'm most proud of is our reforestation. You can look around and look at these mature trees and see how beautiful they are, but you can also go back to one of our 30-acre cutovers and see trees that are 7 years old and see where it had been clear cut and grown, and the possibilities of what it can look like after it's been clear cut. And to me, that's as much a beautiful thing to see as these mature trees. Reforestation is a key to what we do here.